Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me, we just talked a few minutes beforehand, Rich Nisbet, who is a beautiful soul brother. He's a musician and a coach who combined his life skills to help others learn how to use their skills to elevate their awareness in order to see a wider, more responsible view of their lives. Throughout that process, you get to tap into the metaphysical, beyond physical qualities in yourself. And I love that.
Mhm.
That's when everything changes. You have observed that those metaphysical occurrences have also happened for certain individuals during activities such as playing music and art, physically challenging or fun experiences, moments of heavy trauma, and meditative connections with nature. And you decided to create a forum to provide people with some of the experience and methods you've used to help them elevate closer to the true quality of who they are. And so I want to thank you for the work you do in the world, because I love this and I'm so excited to have a conversation with you.
Okay, good.
So before I even ask the question, I remember, as this is coming through right now, I remember going to the Standard in New York City back probably about 20 years ago. And I saw three musicians, all in their 80s. They had never played together before. I witnessed magic because they just, you know this because you're a
Yeah.
musician, they tuned into the energy of each other and they created something. I mean, they knew the songs, but then the improv of jazz, I mean, it was just this magical experience. So that's what's coming through to start off the conversation. Tell me
Wow.
about yourself a little bit because I know you've experienced, I can tell you've experienced that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones said that when the band is totally in that state that can together, he said he goes out of his body, like exterior to his body, looking down on the stage and the audience.
That's
Um, you know, have you ever read The Shack?
I've not read that.
The Shack is a book about a man who loses his daughter to a serial killer. So the
Oh,
worst that could ever happen to anybody. And then
yeah.
he goes to the shack where the murders took place and he meets up with God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Now, it's a really good story. It isn't necessarily about Christianity per se, but it's the Jesus character says to him, religion is about connection and relationship. So when you get on a wavelength of music and art, you are out of the lower humanoid human
Hmm.
like survival and get the meat and kill the guy and jealousy and anger, so you're up into these really flowing wavelengths, and when other people are doing it with you, it's a metaphysical uplift. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I love that because like I can feel it. I mean, I'm a latent musician. I don't have an instrument to play right now, but I'm a singer. Well, I do have my voice, so I sing. Um, and I know the frequency of the vibration when I'm singing, especially
Yeah,
if it's old 70s Stevie Wonder song. It's just
tell me about it. Yes.
a geek thing, but I feel the vibration. I feel the energy moving. And there's something magical about that state because you're not in your ego, you're fully in that presence
Yeah, right.
uh, of the not, you're more than you. And when did you first discover that? Like, when did you first feel it?
Well, when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, that was a show back in the 60s.
Mm.
1964, I was in fourth grade, and my mom said, "Hey, there's this group called the Beatles. Have you ever heard?" I said, "No." She goes, "They're going to be on TV." And my brother and I and my parents just got around this little black and white, and all of a sudden, there's these four guys making people scream and go crazy, and they're happy, and guys are jumping on their seats, and this conservative show. And I said, "Damn, music can make people that happy. I'm doing it." So I got a guitar and learned some chords. And then this college kid was babysitting us, and he saw my guitar. He goes, "Do you play?" I go, "I just know some chords." He goes, "Look, ba-na-na, da-na, da-na-na." He showed me the Louie Louie chords.
Love it.
And he goes, "If you can hear these three chords, you can play any rock song."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 1 4 5. Anyway, I started hearing it. So now I can play any song I hear by ear.
I love
And
that.
I got together with my friends and we started a band, and it started with that whole wavelength of you can make people happy with art or music.
I love that. It's such a great way. Like, what a beautiful gift to like tune into at such an early age that like you have the power to raise everybody's frequency.
I know.
You know what I mean? And it's like such a simple thing, but it isn't. I remember my mom's a musician. She's a pianist. She's been playing since she was 4, and
Oh,
she's magical. She doesn't play anymore very much because she's got dementia, but like went back in the day,
yeah.
magical stuff. And she said to me she would play to the angel in her piano.
Yep.
How do you feel that connection? I want to explore that some more.
Come on. We could be here for days. Have you ever heard of near death experiences?
Yes.
All right. So I've like read bazillions of those, because the reason I am so interested in people's accounts of dying and going to this other realm is because that realm is there right now. And they talk about the sounds they hear are nothing like we can hear with our little pea ears. We only get this much. Our sight's only this much.
Mhm.
And our brain apparently is a filter. It only filters what we need to survive, which isn't.
That's
It,
our reptilian brain.
yeah, it's like so confining. But
Mhm.
when they die and that brain's dead, now that they're into some other stuff, and that whole realm, they all say, "I feel like I was home."
Oh wow, yeah.
And if you notice how many songs and poems have the word home in it, we're going
Mhm.
home. I got to find my way home. I don't think it's mom's house. I don't think it's mama's house. I think it's this kind of home universe that we all know we have our own special home within us. And when you start hitting the wavelengths of music and those higher ones, you're opening that portal to that place that they all talk about when they die, which is it's all about love. It's all about beauty. It's all about nobody's judging anybody on anything. And I can't imagine, but
I
I,
love
I
it.
know I know music and certain sports, like you talked about on the intro, you start hitting those kind of realms. And the reason I made their website and all the stories is because so many people have that in them, and when they hear about others, they go, "Oh, that happened to me," but they don't want to say it to anybody because
Right.
they're all embarrassed and like they'll think they're crazy.
It's so fascinating because like I remember a couple months ago, I was doing a networking thing and I talked to a guy who was an AV guy, sweet, sweet man, living in Pennsylvania, very, very, East Coast kind of.
Yeah.
Anyways, he said,
Audio,
well,
audio, visual, AV.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he said, well, I had a dachshund and she recently died, but I think she's coming to visit me. Do you think I'm crazy? And I said, oh no, honey, you're not crazy. You're not. You're tuning in because you're becoming more sensitive. And he's like,
Yeah.
he was a sensitive person. I could tell he was shy and insecure and because he was a sensitive person. And I said, no, you're normal. And I can say that because like half of me has a PhD in history, so I'm very left brain, and I work in the quantum field. So
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
it's
It's like,
like it is. I'm glad you understand that. But it's like this giving permission to people
mm-hmm.
to explore that part of them. There's actually a greater part of them than what this is.
Yep.
is so important.
Yeah, and there's so many gosh, who's that? RFK is the guy. Saw him talk last night, and he talked about nature being a communication to a creator.
Mhm.
Like it's like birds, fish, animals. That if we have any inkling there's a creator, it's through that area. I thought that was amazing.
Oh yeah, well I get trees. I have had trees have conversations with me before. It is so trippy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
They're like, how are you? Okay, I was in Orcas Island last year and this big ass redwood. Um, I was at this so the tribe up in Orcas Island was canoeing around the islands.
Yeah.
They stopped in Orcas and we had a potluck with them. It was an amazing experience. So I have the Native American frequency
Oh.
there, and this redwood, because she feels their frequency and she knows I'm sensitive, pulls me back. And I'm on my toes, standing and getting pulled into this redwood, leaning against her. And I get ready to leave, and she says, "You're gonna meditate with me." And I'm like, "Okay, that's intimidating because you're a redwood." And I've never had a sentence from like I felt energy before, and I've had
Yeah.
the trees come like I get that kind of, and I get like I can feel their energy, and when they want me to say hi to them, I get that, but like an actual phrase,
Yeah, like intention. Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I ignored her for like 2 weeks. I was intimidated, and I finally came back. She said, "What took you so long?" And I'm like, "Well, I thought I needed permission because it was on a public space, but it was in a
Okay.
place on the island that I didn't know." She's like, "I am the oldest person on this island, oldest being on this island. When I give you permission,
Oh.
anybody else?" Doesn't that make me more intimidated?
Yeah, the tree would be the oldest. Yeah.
So
Wow.
So I sat down for like 5 minutes and she just, I don't even know what happened, but I got a headache after 5 minutes. And said, "Honey, you can't do anymore right now because like I have to get in my car and drive at some point and you're going to knock me out." And so, but it was just a wild experience because she was like, it almost felt like she was waiting for me. I'm like, how did you even know I existed? But
Well,
it's consciousness.
I mean, she must have known that you weren't going to invalidate that perception like most
Right,
people would.
right,
It's probably like, hey, how about you? Finally, all
right,
right, you can see me.
right. And I think all of nature, all of everything that's not human has been waiting for us
Yeah.
to wake up.
You help dogs. Did you say pets?
Yep.
Can you just leave me a little bit about that? That's so fascinating to me. Did they
Oh
kind
yeah.
of communicate what's going on with them physically, or
Oh yeah. Yeah, they I tap into their consciousness,
yeah,
and I use a modality called body talk as the basis for what I heal or my healing practice. And I've some wild experiences, but they're all really amazing. Like some will just tell me what's going on and they'll lead me through the chart to create what we call a formula.
okay,
And that's for their healing. And then usually within, I'll say 24 to 48 hours, they'll feel better. Sometimes it's a week, depending on the trauma. But I've done epigenetic reprogramming. I had a sheep that was going to be put down because she was lame. And
yeah.
all it was she had her right elbow was locked because she was experiencing heartbreak because her brother died.
Oh, and she was all she had to do was communicate that, and it kind of released it,
Mhm.
just like a person, right?
Right. Right. It's like I work with humans and animals. The animals ask me to work with them because not many people work in that realm
Right.
that I do. So, um, and it's just fast. I mean, with humans too, I've had body talk sessions for 8 years and I've uncovered a lot of subconscious programs. But the animals don't have as many.
Yeah.
So they're,
Don't you find the animals are very fast if they are acknowledged?
yep.
Like they can heal really like boom. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless their chi and their life force is really like gone,
Oh,
they
yeah.
like really pick it up pretty fast.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
have pets yourself at home?
The place where I'm living right now has a cat, and
Okay.
she and I have had an interesting so I have to get permission with whoever I work with. I have to get permission, and she's not really into having. like, okay, that's fine. We'll just have this interesting relationship.
I saw a comedian saying dogs like you pet them, they're like, oh, and the cat, can I pet you? Yeah, if it makes you feel okay.
Yeah. If they're like, "Ugh, I guess.
I guess.
If you have to, I guess. I don't really want to, but all right, if it's gonna make you happy, I guess I will. I mean, that's a cat. That really.
Totally.
So, yeah, but they also carry a lot of wisdom in them. I had this Christmas, she sat on my lap, and the owner of the house put on Christmas carols. Her ears went flat, and she stared into my eyes for like 20 minutes. And all of a sudden, because she was doing that, I started hearing the programming of the Christmas carols, which I have sung my whole life.
Yeah.
It was a lower frequency, okay? It was all about separation, and most of them were in minor keys. And by the time then, like, after 20 minutes, she got disgusted and, like, wanted to go outside. And I would just came out of this trance of, like, "What just I don't like Christmas carols."
You heard like Christmas carols in a minor key or what?
I heard well, some of them, like, the Christmas Carol with Nat King Cole. I love Nat King Cole.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's in a minor key.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And then I heard that longing, that looking outside of ourselves for the love that's inside us. And then I listened to some, hymns that were playing too, and it's all about separation. Like we're
Oh,
looking
wow.
outside of ourselves for that universal love that is us. And
Wow.
it hurt my head.
Wow. And that was brought to your attention from the animal?
Yep.
And then they left like, I'm done. You take over now.
Right. She's like, I am done trying to teach you. If you don't get this lesson, that's your problem. I was like, okay.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. So they're here to help us. But like I wanna talk to you because you're the guest, not me. So we're bringing it back to you. Um, what what was the most fascinating experience of tapping into that metaphysical aspect of you while you were in the role of a musician?
Let me think.
Yeah.
Because there's been other ones that even exceeded that,
Okay.
especially the communication from deceased people.
Okay.
Yeah. Um,
We can
and
talk about that too.
motorcycle riding or kite surfing or rock climbing, you get into a different zone of time.
Mhm.
You know how it's weird about time? The past does not exist.
Right.
It did at one time, but now it only exists as a memory bank. And the future doesn't exist. It hasn't happened yet.
Mhm.
So all you have is now. But how long is that?
No.
How long is a piece of now?
It,
It
it, it
it
it's now.
it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't really definable. So you've got something that doesn't exist and another thing that doesn't exist coupled by something that doesn't really exist.
Well, and what's really funny is like, um, I grew up future casting without knowing it.
Oh,
Because it was easier to live in the future than to live in
yeah.
a traditional family. So, about 6 months ago, I was intuitively guided that I had to stop doing that because I was putting all of the energy of my present self into the future as a potentiality when all I have is now.
Yeah.
And it was draining me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. You're right." And I remembered looking at the gene codes again because I've heard it so many times. I'm like, I better look at those again. So my first one is 30, and that's all about desire, repressing desire, um, coming into the state of devotion. My purpose in life is 20, I think it is, and that's all about being present. I'm like, oh, that's why it's so hard.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in the future or the past, you're not, let me see, how can I say this? You know, when you come to a truth, it doesn't persist. Um, when you hear someone talking, you're like, what? And they all of a sudden you get it. Oh, I get it. Now it doesn't persist anymore.
Right.
The confusion, it's gone because the truth hit you. Well,
Right.
the present is the truth. So if you're stuck in the past or the future, you're not processing now in a truth. So it just sits there and follows you, you
Mhm.
know? So anyway,
No, I
that's
pre yeah, I
that's
love that because it's I have been a master at distraction. I'm unlearning that masters because because it doesn't feel good anymore.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's weird is people don't realize they get anxious about the future. I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but they don't ever remember the fact that in the future they will be there with it. And they have gotten themselves out of every mess they've ever gotten into, and they're here now. And in the future, they think they're going to be a leaf blown around by overwhelm and all that. And it never will be that way because they'll always be there to negotiate it. The
Mhm.
soul, you, the consciousness will be part of the confusion and be able to remedy it.
Mhm.
We got to remember that always. Or we think the future is this mystery that's will have nothing to do with, and it's just going to stomp on us, you know?
Well, and the cool thing about that is like when we're in the now, in the present, we can make choices that will bring about that future
Yeah,
self.
that's true.
And it's the discipline, but in it, I don't know how to make discipline sound good.
It sounds,
Practice. You know, it's practice. Like you want to learn to play an instrument, well, you have to practice every day.
yep. You're right, 100%. And that's why if you tune into the area that you're talking about with like the animals or wavelengths, and if you just keep practicing that, you can live above the normal human problems.
Mhm.
That's why my website's called Above It All, because
Yeah.
I like to operate in that versus in it.
Hmm. No, I completely get that because like when we're mired in the small details, and small details can help. Um, but I'll share like have a PhD in history.
A
Really,
what?
I have a PhD in history.
Okay.
Details. At one point in my life, I could literally find anything research wise, to the exclusion of feeding myself, drinking water, peeing, remembering where my car was. Because it's not me, that's not who I am. It was like a skill set that I cultivated to the exclusion of like living in a body.
Yeah.
It took that much effort, and now that I pulled away from that, my body is so much happier. And I'm able to see a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like when you get that, like that focused, you can't see anything else.
Yeah. 100. You know, I think that's the crux of every therapy, every religion, every self help, pulling us out of a paradigm we're stuck in into a new one, or an
Yeah.
identity that we're stuck in into a broader, more overview. I know that
Yeah.
there's this cool, I call them underlying themes. An underlying theme is kind of like a basic axiom of life.
Mhm.
Intelligence and judgment are based on the ability to recognize relative importances.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everything is not the same importance.
Right.
And when you can like adjust that, oh, my life, eating and sleep is more important than that little detail that I've fretted about for 4 weeks.
Right.
All of a sudden everything aligns and now you're surviving better.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree because like we can really get down here and freak out when it's such a small aspect of the whole that we are.
Yeah.
And when we can when we can like ground ourselves in the presence, it doesn't matter.
That's what I learned from those near-death people.
Ah,
When they die, their body, they're looking at their body like, wow, that's weird. It looks like a wallet or something, or a shoe.
right.
Oh, they're like, oh, that was mine. That's me. Oh, well. And they fly off into this never land. And they all talk about a life review. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep, I have.
Do you know that the life review, though, it happens in a millisecond? Like there's no time in that whole realm. And they see their
Right.
entire life in minute detail, more than they ever remember experiencing it in real. And they don't necessarily only see their life review from their viewpoint, they relive as if they were the other person that they affected. So if they punch someone in the face, they will feel the blood, they'll feel the tooth, they'll feel the shame. So they see the effect they had on every living being and that changes them.
Oh
They're like,
yeah.
holy, we're all connected. I can't do this stuff to people. And they'll come back and they stop being policemen. They stop being like in the army. They
Yeah.
stop doing, they become teachers and social workers, and they go into that. So that overview of those life guys really gives you lessons on. They're like, everything we think is important is just so goofy.
Right. Like it's funny because like right now, as we both know, there's this crazy political stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
What I've seen is that the divisions are so freaking superficial.
Yeah. Big time.
And we've forgotten that that person is me. Like if that person triggers me, it's on me to feel the trigger.
I know.
And I really don't, I'm not political, so I'm not going to get into a political discussion because I've seen through what it is. It's all about separation. But like to lose friends over a candidate doesn't make sense to me because that person, you love that person. If they have a different belief system in you, 20 years ago, that didn't matter.
No, I know. It didn't matter when they were 9 playing together either.
Mhm.
So yeah, and that's kind of what goofiness about growing these bodies getting old, because
Mhm.
every loss, every trauma, we make decisions, and
Mhm.
those decisions are always limiting. Oh, I better not do that. Oh, I got bit by a dog. Dogs are bad. Oh, I got broken up for the girls. Girls don't trust me. So every decision in trauma sits there in the mind and shrinks your ability to be responsible and have an overview. So that's why counseling works to a degree, is because you're pulling those old decisions out and going, oh my, hey, I just got to tell you, I was trying to think of the thousands of hours that I've counseled and coached people. I was trying to think of what would be the one statement of an epiphany that I could say everyone's had. They're all different, but they all come down to this one statement, and that is, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Right. Right. Because whatever the trauma is, I mean, like you have childhood traumas, you're not thinking yet. You're reacting. You're
Big
totally
time.
reacting.
Yeah, and you're
And
making
so,
conclusions. You're having opinions and conclusions and computations, and I don't trust mom anymore, or whatever it is.
right.
And that sits there and reactivates whenever thinks it needs to, depend against your own will.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I see it all. Like I regularly mine through my subconscious as much as I can because I'm an old soul. I got a lot of shit. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so what is the thing that's blocking me at this moment?
Yeah.
And because I read the Gene Key 30 yesterday and it was like repressing your desires. I'm like, I don't repress my desires. And then last night in my subconscious, it's like, ha 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 ha, silly
Oh.
one. You've repressed a lot of desire. I'm like, what? I don't see it yet. So like it's a process of finding
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But it was just so funny because like little conscious me is like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I don't no, I don't repress anything. I'm healthy. And I am. And
Yep.
But now at the point, because I've done this so long, it's more of a curiosity of like, okay, what is it that I'm repressing? One of them is I need an instrument because I really miss playing.
Oh, what
I'm
did you play an instrument before?
clarinet.
Oh yeah, nice.
I want to do a saxophone now.
Sax?
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
yeah. Because like clarinet, you can't really do much with a clarinet.
Yes, I
In
think
my opinion.
sax is a bit easier.
Yeah,
Clarinet, the amateur is really.
yeah. At least I'm not going to oboe. I mean, it's going easier instead of harder.
Hey, where do your parents live?
Mom's down in Wairika. Dad
Puerto
passed.
Rico?
No, no, no. Wairika,
Where's
California.
that? Is that in
It's
Oregon?
north of Weed. It's
Oh,
north of Shasta.
oh, okay, good.
Yeah. And dad transitioned in 2009. So,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, my dad did just a few months ago. He was 92. And one of the cool things is he knows okay, so I'm the black sheep of the family.
Okay.
I mean, I remember being in second grade trying to hang on to what this teacher's trying to get us to understand. I'm like, what? And I'm looking at the kids around. I wonder if they get it. Now maybe I'm stupid. Maybe they're, and I'm looking outside and I see the grass and the trees and often the houses on this, and I'm thinking, I wonder if everybody else sees the same green that I see. And I wonder what I'm going to do after school today. Like, and then what am I doing at this school? I know my parents told me, oh, wait a minute, how did I get in this family? What? And I'm going through all this rigmarole. And all of a sudden the teacher goes, Richard, pay attention. I'm like, busted. And about a week later, my mom says, hey, your report card came in the mail. And it says here, Richard gets along with everyone, but daydreams too much.
How dare you?
And I'm like, Mom, the stuff I'm thinking about seems more interesting than the stuff she's talking about. So
I,
my parents were like Ozzy and Harriet. I never had any trauma in my life. I'm not like a lot of people where they springboarded to enlightenment from trauma. But it left me with one question because I didn't have any survival problems. They supported everything. My one question was, is this it?
mm,
Really? I'm going to have a happy family and a house and a couple of cars and then grow old and die. That's it.
yeah. That's not too exciting. That's
And,
not exciting.
and nobody else thought those things. I was just thinking this all the time. What am I doing on this planet? And that really kind of set the stage for everything. I don't even know why I told you all that, but that's kind of,
No,
that was,
I love it because like that, because both of my parents were black sheep. Dad was a sensitive male who loved being in nature. Mom's a musician.
oh,
So but I call them rainbow sheep. So I'm the daughter of two rainbow sheep. I'm like, I'm a unicorn. Because
rainbow sheep.
the
Yeah.
black sheep or the rainbow sheep are the ones that came here to shift consciousness.
Yeah.
Like like nothing. I was talking to animals when I was 3.
When you were little?
Yeah, when I was little, I was talking to animals. I was astral traveling. I was doing all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And when my grandpa died, he sat on my bed for 3 days and freaked me out, and I shut everything down because it freaked me out. Nobody could explain what happened.
Uh-huh.
It's like I can't do this. So like I thought I shut everything down. It never shut down. Um, I was always intuitive, but I tried to repress it
Yeah.
because I grew up in Connecticut in the 1970s. So 70s and 80s. And so like that Fairfield County, Connecticut, not really conducive to
Real conservative.
little conservative.
Yeah.
So I didn't allow myself to express that as fully as it wanted to come through. That said, I knew when every family member has died. I saw them leave their bodies.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Wow.
oh, that's normal. Like I just kind of blew it off because I couldn't process it. And then when my dad died, he was in hospice, intensive care for 3 months. He had a staph infection. Then got transferred to hospice when his entire digestive system had been eaten. from the staph infection, and he died the second day I flew back from Washington to Connecticut, and like I walk into the room and I look at the body, not my dad,
Gone.
because he
He
was,
he took off.
well, I said it 3 times. And my mom's like, "You're crazy. That's your father." But he was jaundiced and he like yellow. I mean, he'd like left his body. It was gone. The no
Yeah,
pink
yeah,
fluid, it was gone.
I know.
So the third time I say it, I hear or I feel,
Yeah. Was it
I'm
like
like,
crystalline, like crystal water, kind of like
ooh.
flowing?
I hadn't put that sense to it, but yeah, it's scattered across the universe.
Yes.
And that's when I went, okay, that was dad, and I don't
Yeah,
know
totally.
planet.
Listen, I was married to Barb, and she passed away about 13 years ago. And we were in Northern California, and she got leukemia from, I think, from the treatments, all that. She got breast cancer. Then they did all the chemo and radiation, and bam, bam, bam. And I
Oh,
think she got leukemia from that.
yeah, that makes
And
sense.
so I'm there with the last day, sitting holding her hand and under morphine, and she just slowly breathing, and I'm just holding, talking, and I swear to God, just what you said. All of a sudden, it was this exhilaration and crystalline white flowing angelic, and she's like, "I did it. I'm out."
Oh,
And I swear to God, 4 people that day called me and said, "Is did Barb something happen? She was with me today about 1:30." And
wow.
one lady was in an airplane, one was on the other side of the country, one was in the other side of the city, and she was everywhere. All and it was, you can, it's very sad, but it was kind of like, all right, now she doesn't have to be in that decrepit body anymore.
Ah, yeah. I even saw a couple months ago, um, the cat caught a sparrow, and Rob, the guy who owns the house, tried to save it, but like the tail feathers had been pulled out and she lost a lot of blood, but he's holding it. And I'm trying to do energy work, but like there wasn't really anything to do. Um, she like crawled up him, made eye contact with him, smiled. I didn't know sparrows could smile, and then fell back in his hand and let this big stretch of her wings, like
Yeah.
expanded wing, and then collapsed and died. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa, that because like like she was her soul was expanding out of her body,
Yeah, yeah.
and then it collapsed because the soul was no longer in it. And I was just like, mind was blown.
That's amazing.
Because to see an animal do that
Yeah.
was like, I did not know. Like, of course, because the animal's me and I'm the animal, like everything makes sense. But it is also like, holy mackerel, how beautiful that this little one trusted us enough to be able to die safely.
Yeah, and right, right. I do you know about this book? It's called When It's Time.
Hmm.
Um, okay, in 2000, one of my clients came in one day and said, "Hey, Rich, my grandma's not doing well. She's been in the hospice for weeks, and the last 3 weeks she's been her tongue's out of her mouth. She's purple. She's anxious. She's writhing. And we don't know what to do because we can't help her." And so I'm like, give me let me think about it. So I went home and started assessing, well, if I was dying, what would I'd be freaking out. I'd be at loss over my family and my possessions and my identity. And I started listing out all the things I'd probably. So I wrote out 6 simple steps.
Hmm.
I said, try this with your grandma next day. First step was get everybody out of the room so you can be alone. Second step was have her touch things until she calms down.
Mhm.
Touch your bed, touch your chest, touch your head, touch the picture. And by God, her tongue went back in her mouth. Then the next step was tell me anybody that you want me to get a message to. tell me anything your attention's on and I'll take care of it. And these really simple common sense
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I swear to God, the nurse and the mom come back in the room and she's talking. She hadn't talked in 3 weeks and
Wow.
she skin's normal. And they're like, oh my God, what'd you do to grandma? And she talked with them for 2 hours and then passed away peacefully. Now, I thought, oh, that's cool. Maybe it's a fluke, maybe it's a fluke. But he started yapping it to everyone in Chicago where I was.
Okay.
And I started getting calls, my mom, my uncle, my dad, So I'm like frantically writing notes to here, try this. And so then I thought, well, this seems like a piece of uh, dynamic that everyone's going to have to face, but no one knows what to do.
Right.
And they're all emotional about it. So I wrote the book,
Oh,
how
that's
to
awesome.
simple steps to help someone die peacefully and give reassurance to everybody else.
I love that. When my dad was dying, um, I intuitively was like, I need to just like caress him like this,
Yeah.
just to give him the reassurance. I
Yeah.
didn't
Because the
talk to him,
connection.
but I'm like going like this and touching his face, and
Yeah.
and they're like, you got to wear gloves. I'm like, I am not. I'm not like you're gonna
Good
get a
for
staph
you.
infection. I'm like, intuitively, I knew I wasn't gonna get a staph infection. Like, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
This man needs comfort as he's dying, and my mom is traumatized, so I'm the one that gets to take the
Of
lead on
course.
this.
Of course.
And unfortunately, the one thing I feel badly about is that his sister called and berated me because I wasn't giving her updates. I'm like, I have the capacity to take care of my dad and to keep my
See,
mom fine. So then she wanted to talk to my dad, and that's when he transitioned. Like, he waited until we left the room and then he transitioned. And I was like, I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to do that to you.
no, I love it. It's great. One of the chapters is leave the room.
Mm,
And it starts
ah,
out, do you like people seeing you go to the bathroom?
right.
When you get hurt, do you want them hovering around? You okay? What'd you do?
Mhm.
Sometimes people don't want to transition when others are staring at them
Right.
because they are going to create trauma and they don't want to create trauma. So
Right.
you
Oh,
get up here.
we got in the car, we started driving away.
Yep.
And like 2 miles away, I hear my phone ring. I'm like, that's the hospital, Dad just died.
Come
Like,
on back.
no, he didn't. And I'm like, I press the message and oh, we turned your father over to like wash him and he transitioned. I'm like, yep, I knew it. So we drive back
Good
and
for you. Yeah.
it
That
was
happens
like,
so much.
oh yeah.
I know a couple and I put it in the book where the dad said, can I have a cup of coffee? And the daughter-in-law said, no, they told you can't have coffee. Come on. And they went off to go home and have a shower and we'll be back at 7. And he passed and he never got that damn cup of coffee. So I say, give them whatever they want.
It's funny, like I have this debate with my mom because like she's got diabetes and she's got dementia and
Does she
the
recognize you?
resident
Does she still know you? Is it
mm, in and out,
sometimes?
in and out, yeah.
All right.
But what happens is the other residents love my mom, so they give her candy.
Yeah.
And she was grocery shopping and getting like big containers of candy, and then she'd hide them around her room.
Yeah. Chocolate.
Chocolate, the Werther's caramel things, like anything she could get her hands on.
Yeah.
And so the staff said, "Hey, we got to rein this in." I'm like, "I totally get what you're saying." And she looked at me, and this is when she was more cognizant. She's like, "I'm gonna die anyways. Why can't I have my sugar?" And I'm like, I get it, Mom. I get it. I get it. I get it. I'm trying to like balance because I get what her point is, but it's just going to make the condition. I mean, the conditions are going to get worse, but she's dying anyways. Like
Yeah.
it's like this. It's this fascinating balance.
I heard a comedian say, why do they put alcohol on the where the needle's going to go for the death penalty?
Got to make it clean.
Gotta clean it. I don't want to get infected. How much time do we have left?
We've got another 20 minutes.
Listen, I wanted to tell you a story that just
Oh,
came
please
in
do.
from my book.
Yeah.
Chapter I don't know that it's on page 72. It's called The Letter.
Mm.
Because when someone's dying, like your sister-in-law, she wasn't around. Where was she? Where
Oh,
was
my aunt was in New Haven, and my dad was in Danbury, Connecticut. So about an hour
okay.
and a half away. So
Yeah. And so there's people like people from all over the country hear about it and they're like, what can we do? We're so sorry. We'll pray for you. Everyone's freaking out. No one knows what to do. They want to help, but they don't know what. So that chapter says, here's what you do. When someone's dying, you contact all their friends and family around the world and tell them to write you a 1-page letter. And in the letter, leave your loss and all your emotion out of it and just write down all the cool stuff you guys that you did with them, how they inspired you, all the help that they gave you, the fun times you had together, and keep it to 1 page. And I will put it together in a book at Kinko's or whatever and read it to the person on their deathbed.
Oh, I love that.
Now, the number one thing that people regret when someone dies is what they wish they could have said, but now they can't.
Right.
So the letter kills two birds.
Yeah.
Not only does it help the people who can have closure by saying what they want, and the person on this dying can see how they were loved and the effect they had, and that their life meant something.
Yeah.
All
Oh, I
right.
love
So,
that.
all right. So listen to this. So this lady on the East Coast read the book and she emailed me and said, oh my God. So my friend in Arizona, my best friend in Arizona's husband's dying. His name's Lee. And I read your chapter, and what I did is I went to Lee's, I didn't tell my friend, I went to Lee's Facebook page and I contacted every one of his friends and said, you need to write a letter. Lee's not going to be for this world. And, you know, keep all your emotion, just what I said.
Yeah.
So they all submitted this letter to her, over, you know, maybe 200 people.
Wow.
And she not only just went to Kinko's, she went to Shutterfly and she took pictures from the Facebook and made different fonts on each page. It's like $100 coffee table book of all the letters, said letters to Lee. Now, Lee's wife, her best friend, was in the kitchen when the package arrived, and she's in the pit, you know, opens up this letters to Lee. Oh my God, Lee! He's in the bedroom, right? You won't believe what just came. And she goes in there and starts reading to him. And for 2 weeks, she read the letters and they had a nice time. And then he passed.
Wow.
Now, this is not the end. Check this out.
Okay.
Apparently, Lee owned a social media marketing company. So at the memorial, everyone comes in the church, the lights go down, a big screen comes down, boom, there's a video of Lee going, I read all your letters to me, and now here's my letter back to you. And he ran his own memorial.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. I love that.
He sang songs with them. They did prayers together. He would joke, hey, Joe, that fish was not that big. You quit lying. So it was just a great send-off that he gave himself.
That's
really
beautiful. I love that. I love that. Like when my dad had his memorial service, he was a math teacher and he helped all the kids that were going to fail. Like that's the school decided that he had the gift to tap into those kids.
Oh.
And so I had like about 40 young to middle-aged men come up to me and say, I don't know what I would have done without your dad.
Oh.
And
they went to the memorial?
That's like all around, like we had my other aunt wrote this little memorial and said, you know, we're going to have this celebration of life thing. I had people coming from Pennsylvania to Connecticut.
Wow.
I had people coming from Maine. I had people coming all from New England to come, and the church was packed. And I had like 10 of my friends all sitting with me on this row just to and they came from Maine. I was like, what do you, wow, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And the men that came up to me just ripped my heart out with gratitude.
I know.
And love. And like, it was just amazing.
Your dad was what grade did he teach?
High school.
So these were students that were high school students when your dad was teaching. How old were they? Older than you now?
Yeah, most of them.
They were all older. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he taught for like 40 something years. So
yeah, right. They'd have the whole gamut.
Yeah, they have the whole gamut. So, and it was just such a beautiful gift to me because they were aspects of my dad I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm not a student, so I don't know what he did. I saw some of the kids that he worked with because he also had a lawn mowing company. And he'd pull a couple to work with him, and they come home, and I'd be able to interact with them, but not the majority of them
Yeah,
because
of course.
that big. But just that gift of seeing how our beingness affects others in such positive ways.
I know. Do you have kids yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what you've said or done that affected them.
Right.
And you're always hoping, but like when they get older, they'll say stuff like, "Remember when we were at that thing and you did that?" I'm like, no. Oh yeah, remember when you told me blah blah blah? Oh, I did. So,
Right.
and it's so cool to hear other people's viewpoint of your own parents, because you only saw them as your parents,
Right.
but they were so much more expansive in other areas that you never were aware of.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's mind blowing. And to be able to have that reflection given
Yeah,
such a gift. I mean, it's like because it I had a conversation last year with somebody up at Orcus, and we were trying to describe each other. And he said, well, you can go by all the things I do, but that's not me. Any title I have is not me. Um,
right.
anything I like to do is not me. My name isn't me. So who am I? And I'm like, exactly, because we're so much more than what we perceive.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get balled up in these identities that we take on, because
Yeah.
every identity has what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, and you get stuck in that identity.
Mhm.
Look at the people in the political arena now; they're stuck in something
Mhm.
way bigger than them.
Right. Right.
It's like it's
Oh, it's a
fantastic.
whole thing. So
It is a it is a whole
I
thing.
ran for state senate in 1998 in Maine, and I uncovered a lot of things I didn't know about the system.
Yeah,
I found out that I'm way too ethical. I like sleeping with myself at night without having to ruin my conscience.
yeah, right.
That's a crazy thing. Um, and like ethics and honesty, not really encouraged. Not really
You
encouraged.
think?
Just saying. I mean, I was in Maine and it wasn't encouraged. I'm like, Maine's like a backwater. Like I love Maine. Maine's an amazing state. Not winters, but like it's an amazing state. But for them to have this is like 98 and they were like, oh, we got to use fear to control constituents. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Why? And it's only gotten, I see the effects of that now.
way worse. I know. It's.
That's not a good plan.
Did you ever see a movie called American History X with
Yes.
Ed Norton? You
Mhm.
did?
Mhm.
Really violent. Ed Norton was like a white supremacist because his dad got killed in the ghetto in a
Yeah.
fire. He was a fireman. So anyway, he got a skinhead and he ended up killing a black guy and went to prison. So the whole movie is that like this identity mentality.
Mhm.
We're white, they're black, they're Chinese, and
Right.
the mob think
Mhm.
overcomes any ethical
Right.
individuality of anybody. But
Which is
he's in
crazy.
he's in prison and he's got to work with a black kid and he ends up liking him.
Right.
And so he comes out of prison. Now his brother's in the white supremacist and he's got to convince him, no, no, it's not. I was wrong.
Right.
So
No,
it's,
I mean, that's the thing. Like, since I was talking to geese at the age of 3, I didn't get the whole thing about separation. Like
oh,
that was my whole drive for all of my studies. I wanted to
yeah.
understand how separation was created. Like that's pretty much what my PhD is essentially. It's cultural studies with a framework that's ultimately about how is separation created? Like that's what I really wanted to understand.
Oh, yeah.
And I can only bring it so far academically because there's absolutely no way to prove, right? It's like can't prove it. I can see how culture is formed. I can see like how different factors create it and the dynamic between the populace and the creators of content and how that all works. I see that, but that still doesn't explain separation because separation is our forgetfulness that we're source.
Yeah. Yep.
And to try to remember that, man, like, I swear, like, the amnesia is a thing.
I just finished my podcast on truth. It's called Truth,
Uh-huh.
and the basic axiom or underlying theme is anger and truth cannot occupy the same space.
Mhm.
If you say I'm angry because of blank and you remain angry, blank is not the reason you're angry, because when you find the truth, you won't be angry anymore. Because every person I've ever done counseling or coaching on, I don't stop the session until they're laughing, till they see the truth and they're like, oh my God, what an idiot I was. Oh my God. And now they're all happy and it doesn't persist. And that's the truth. And it's
Right.
never what they claimed they were upset about to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so
So,
true because like we
and that's source, like you said, source.
Mhm.
We're the source of our anger. And we got to find out how we pulled that off and how we were part of it and how we own it and how our authorship of it.
Yeah,
Once we find that, we're source, that we're not angry anymore
right.
because we created the whole thing.
Right. And we created the whole thing to remember that we're not that thing that we created, right?
Yep.
Because we have all these perceptions. I had one a couple months ago. I don't remember what it was, but it was like mind blowing that I had this big ass lens that I'd seen the world through. And I uncovered I think it was hoarding and scarcity. And I don't carry that within me. However, my ancestors have. So it's in my
Hoarding,
hoarding.
hoarding, like HORARD.
HOARDING, like
Yeah. All right.
gathering. So there's nothing about me that hoards, but it's in my epigenetics.
All right.
'Cause I'm very conscious of not wanting to hoard anything.
Okay.
Like as a conscious effort, because I grew up with a hoarder but
Oh,
it's in me. It's in me because it's in my epigenetics. And I didn't see it. I didn't even know it existed. I had two dreams in one night that showed me the hoarding of my ancestors and then the scarcity of my ancestors. And I was like, wait, how, what? How am I curing this? Because I'd never seen it before because I don't exhibit the signs of it.
okay.
So, but it doesn't matter because epigenetically it's in my neural pathways. And until I saw those dreams, and they were really like very, very, I could not see the dreams. Like they were so obvious in what they were telling me
Yeah.
of how hoarding is a thing in my family and how scarcity is a thing in my family. I was like, oh, you want me to heal this within me now for the ancestors? And I was like, yep, because you're
Whoa.
doing it. And I was like, oh, damn it.
Like your response, you have to like handle it for all those dudes.
Mhm.
That's
'Cause that was-
nice though. Was it kind of like a lucid dream, different than normal dreams? I
oh
know.
yeah, very
Yeah.
lucid. I was like, because it didn't make, I mean, it was, I saw myself in it and I tried to stop myself from doing the things and I couldn't stop myself
Yeah.
because I would have missed the lesson.
I get you.
And I was like,
I
wow.
love that.
Yeah.
God, it's like you. All right, you got the ability. I was trying to tell my son once about responsibility. He played hockey when he was like kindergarten, and he was able to see the all the kids at that age follow the puck around like little lemmings, you know. And
Mhm.
he would stay back and watch where it was going to go, and be able to score
I
that
love
way.
it. I love
And
it.
so I told him on the way home, I said, dude, I know you can see the ice and I know you can see the dynamics of the game. So you've got to tell your friends where to play. They're chasing the puck around. You know it's not right. So you need to step up. He went, I don't want to. I don't want to tell them what to do. I said, you have to. You got to be responsible. And he goes, what's that? And now I'm like, uh, well, and I'm making it up on the spot, right? Trying to be really smart. It comes from two words, response and ability. So if you have the ability, you have to respond in that manner, or you're being irresponsible.
I love it.
I don't know if he did it, but I thought I was really a genius for coming up with it. But you have the ability
Yeah.
and the dream and the angels or whatever was talking to you said, dude, you've got the ability, you got to handle it.
Yeah.
None of those
Oh,
guys
yeah.
could do it.
No, I get it. It's like if we have that awareness, we have to be responsible for ourselves, right? First and foremost, like, oh shit, I found this other piece of awareness now. Dang it. Now I have to like be mindful of it so
Yeah,
I don't put my life
or
in.
suppress it and suffer the consequences of
Right.
that.
I'm
Which,
I'm I'm done with that.
yeah, everybody does
Sometimes
though,
in
don't
my
they?
subconscious, I gotta look at it. So
How many times has someone, I talk about intuition sometimes. There's a book I just read called The Gift of Fear.
mm,
When you've got intuition is different than just perception. Intuition makes you feel uncomfortable
mm,
in your tummy, and you're like, ugh, and it won't let up. So are you going to follow it or are you going to push it away?
mm-hmm.
And if you push it away, like most people do, they're always like 2 years later going, I knew it. I shouldn't have done it. I knew it. Why didn't I listen to myself?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
so abilities like that and telepathic communication and out of body experience, all that stuff, if you're aware of it, but you better like own it or you're going to suppress it and then be the victim of it.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I channel stuff with my animals. I was at a networking meeting this morning and I was trying to describe what I did and I said, okay, so basically I channel stuff, and I write it down in a formula and record it, and I just need a picture because we're all energy. And this one guy actually got it. He's like, "Oh, you're talking about energy." I'm like, "Yes, I'm talking." And everybody else is like,
Yeah. It's,
okay, I'm trying to use like, okay, I get it. I'm left brained and I'm doing all this like woo stuff. And so I get that you're looking at me crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm intuitive. Okay. We're all intuitive. I'm not doing anything that anyone can't do.
yeah.
I just happen to be open to this.
Great.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's it. And so like we got to own it. Like we're not going to be burned at the stake anymore. Like we're done with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The witch thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
But
the more we tune into those gifts, we all have them. We just got to normalize it.
yeah, I was up, my family knows what I've been into all these years, and they're it's in education, straight ahead teachers, and I'm the black sheep, like I said. So, but they're always coming up to me, and my one of my nephews is in finance. He does like like an Edward Jones kind of place where you invest money and he gives you advice. And he's a 30-year-old kid, and he came up to me last time I was in Michigan, and he said, Uncle Richard, I got to tell you something. I know you'll understand. I said, what? He goes, I have this woman who came in my office and said, I need to set up an account for my grandson. And I was going through the papers like, I didn't know you had a grandson. You never said that. She goes, yeah, I didn't either. He goes, what do you mean? She goes, well, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me. And I don't know if you'll believe me, but my 40-year-old son died in a car wreck a year ago. Yeah. He goes, yeah, I know. She goes, well, the other day I was driving and he was in the passenger seat with me. And he said, Mom, you missed an email. You need to go check your email, Mom. You missed one. And gone. And she was like, what? She's freaked out. She goes, he was in my car, bigger than talking to me, said I
Yeah,
missed
yeah,
it.
yeah.
She goes home, opens her laptop. She's going through all her emails. Boom, there's one she never opened. Clicks on it. It said, you don't know me, but a few months back, I had a relationship with your son, and I just delivered a baby boy, and the DNA shows that it's his. So you're a grandma.
Wow.
Come
Wow.
on, the boy. Her
That's
son goes, Mom,
amazing.
check your email. You're a grandma.
Wow. I love that.
I know.
That's so awesome.
So those kind of stories are on my website that
That's so
people
cool.
can relay. So I want people to read them so that they won't freak out when something like that happens to them and they can relay it.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay,
many.
so to that end, because I have
Oh
a
yeah, okay.
so, but obviously we could talk for hours. Um, how do people find you?
Rich at aboveitall360.com. aboveitall360.com.
Awesome.
And anybody who wants to like talk to me, I'll totally talk just like you and I are talking.
Awesome. Oh, Rich, thank you so much for your time.
You are welcome.
I am
I really
so
appreciate
grateful.
it. This is the first time I've done it. Like I said, I thought it was a blast.
Me too. Thank
And
you,
you're
thank you, thank
you're
you.
so interesting. I'm going to keep watching your videos and stuff, and we can keep in touch with our emails right now, right? And I
Definitely.
think I gave you my phone number if you ever want to call.
I think so, but well,
We'll
thank you.
figure that. All right.